just now is so very true. I even think people are pretending a false naivety. People know what it is to be polite. When people are rude, it's not usually because they don't know. It's because they're prioritizing their feelings about what they need to feel and what they need you to be above respecting you. That's what it's about. People know what it's like. People know that ask. People know, well, I should require this. What they're really going on is that their need to prove a point is more important than someone else's identity. And that's what it's about. But I think most people, if they had real good intentions, they wouldn't understand that. But why do so many people not? That's the question.
Anybody on that end? I'm sorry, I'm privileging this end because they're geographically closer to me. I've just redlined the panel, so make sure. Go ahead.
I just quickly want to say that, as was spoken before, is racism is sloppy and lazy thinking, and to counter that, the best thing is education. And that needs to be diverse, rich, full education, pulling from sources worldwide. We live in a worldwide community. Let's learn about all the different places and all the different histories. And I really do think education, and not just paying lip service to things, but really digging into sources and texts and authors and musicians and painters and trying to hear them as they present themselves, not as we might project on them. I think that's another big thing, is to be aware of projection and to learn to be sensitive to the world around us and people as they present themselves. And I think that's already been said, but acknowledge them in the way that everyone deserves to be acknowledged, and take the time to listen, to hear those nuances of their stories and where they come from and who their families are. All these terms are very broad, and so it's the individual people, as we get to know each other. I think that's what breaks it down, as we get to know each other's stories and in depth. And I'd encourage more and more of that, dialogue and education.
Thank you, Michael. Kiran, you can have this one.
So I work with this organization, as one of the things I do is it's reducing racial and ethnic disparities in the justice system, and the profiling that goes on there is all within the institution as well. So working with probation officers and judges and others to get them to see how they're constantly dehumanizing people of color, especially men of color. And so how to work with some of those individuals on what we're realizing is an empathy gap. They're not really seeing them as human beings, and no story, no sense of context, and a lot of fear, right? So whether it's the police or the probation officers or others, there's this fear that's just set in them. And so how to work with the people that are dehumanizing men of color in a way that isn't dehumanizing as well, right? Which is so hard to do sometimes. But it is to realize that it's so deep in those institutions that even the ones going in to any of those institutions have a certain psychological way of being, right? So how do we work with the education systems, whether it's criminology and, at UNM, and what are they providing? How do you do the professional development within those institutions? But the biggest overarching thing, and this is where my theoretical perspective comes in with hegemony, is how it's normalized in our society, right? So our society is so full of violence, and it pushes that violence on other countries, pushes its violence on its people, glamorizes it, glorifies violence. Almost every movie that's ever made that makes a lot of money is full of glamorizing violence, right? So we're in a society where it's normalized. It's normal to be so violent. And so it comes from different angles. You can't wait to have the whole of hegemony be shifted, right? there'd be a lot of people of color's lives lost meanwhile. So you've got to do the micro and the macro. So I would say just all different angles, and the profiling piece is in all of us. There's this research that's been done where even anti-racists will be sitting in front of screens and be told to try and look at different images and try and say, is that good, is that bad, is that this, is that that? It's sitting in all of us, right? We're that socialized, that colonized. So a lot of undoing that needs to be done to try and help us all be humanized. I think we're all messed.
Yeah, I would like to actually share one tool. Most of my statements have been observational, at least I like to think they are. But you touched on it very briefly with the word empathy, and that's what I wanted to mention. Empathy is the biggest tool. It's the most valuable tool anyone can have to do anything regarding another human being, no matter what it is. All right? And many people don't know the real difference between the word empathy and sympathy. You know, that's a definition that people, I get a sense, confuse very often. But I'll share something that was very, very deep for me. I come from a middle class background, okay? But I was shipped into white neighborhoods to go to school. I can tell you horror stories, but I'll spare you, okay? But I learned that it wasn't white that was coming after me, specifically. It was these few people, because I had my ass saved by a few white folks. Now, when you're in a group of a whole bunch of black people, you don't want to tell that story because, like, well, so what? You know? But the empathy part of it really comes home when I sew that together with my daughter, okay? My daughter's 14 years old now. And I've dated, you know, I'm a loyal guy, so I've had a couple of girlfriends in my life, okay? But I never understood women until I was raising my daughter. But that's not, I didn't say that to be funny. I'm saying that I'm not saying, oh, women are crazy, never understood. No, I didn't understand what a woman was until I saw a little girl. And I was responsible for that little girl. I didn't understand my wife, really, until our daughter started relating to me as a young female. I have an empathy for women I never had before. I'm not saying no one ever has it, but I didn't understand women the way I thought I did. I loved women. I was very respectful because I loved my mother, my mother, my grandmother, my sisters. But I have an understanding of women from a perspective that's as close as I'll ever get from seeing what a woman comes from. Okay? I didn't need a son to understand men, because I came from there. Similarly, us on the panel, looking to make changes, okay? We all need to be empathetic. You brought that up again as well. Because at a certain point, if you keep saying, you know, white people, what is white people? If I was a white person, I'd shut off at some point. I just would. I'd look for my own way to maybe try to solve it, but, okay, I know the world's screwed up. I didn't do it. Let me see if I can. You just have to be empathetic to the changes, to the people that you want to see implement those changes. You guys remember the band Public Enemy? That's the band I'm from, okay? And the conversations we had were pretty blistering all around the globe, okay? Every once in a while I had to like stop that shit and say, look, okay, but you gotta think about how a white man's gonna look at this. Nobody wanted to hear that. What do you know how a white man was? Well, who cares about it? If you don't give a shit, you have to realize, well, they have the guns. So you better give a shit about what they might be thinking about all of this if you want to affect some changes. Empathy is the most important tool any of you are ever going to have to do anything with a human being.
I'm sorry, Daryl. I'm going to have to leave it there. It's 28. I said I was going to honor their time, and I want to honor yours too, so forgive me. I want to make a couple of announcements because some of the cards we got weren't questions, they were resources, right? So the question that leads into it is, what advice to the Santa Fe community college students of color in the room to help them strategically navigate the educational system? Well, you have the people up here, and you also have, from this discussion that will be ongoing, you have this discussion group, and you have someone who says, I started a local Facebook page called Decolonizing Santa Fe. It can add complexity of local histories and conversations and local actions, like actually what we're gonna do next, to this page. And that's if you're on this side of the digital divide. If not, hopefully we have like old-fashioned ways to contact you where people talk, like a telephone or in person, like these discussions as well. And then a question and someone giving themselves as a resource is removing old racist exclusionary restrictions in real estate covenants. Details on request. Leah Miller. Leah, are you in here? Raise your hand. There's Leah. So holler at Leah if you want information about that. If your neighborhood is looking very monochromatic. And I want to kind of get while I'm talking, I want the organizers to come up here. So I know I have Ivy, Alexis, and Noah. Please come to the stage while I'm making these final remarks. So, my friend Edie Song was here. Some of you know Edie. She had to go. Her young daughter was in the audience. And I think the biggest takeaway from this conversation, kind of piggybacking off of something Brian said about my friend Molly, who was here, and her daughter, about the young people in the room. And so Edie's daughter wrote me this colorful, she kind of doctored up our little zine here, but I think we should all leave on this note right here. She made me a picture in the notes section called The Magical Bear. As you can see, it's very beautiful. So if you leave with nothing else tonight, know that there was a magical bear drawn for you. And I want to, our organizers are over there. You saw Ivy on the panel, that's Noah, that's Alexis. They're gonna help continue this work as well. If you wanna be more involved with this work, they're the people to see. Not me, I'm an expat from Albuquerque, but I'm here enough, and my son is 7, and he interacts with your kids. And so it's important for me as a dad to try to make this world a better place for him. So kudos to you all tonight. Thank you, panelists, so much for your time and your personal stories and thoughts. And we're gonna let Warehouse 21 go home around 9 o'clock, so thank you all very much for being here. Thank you to our sound people, too, for making sure this all worked out.
Really fast.
Sorry, one of the organizers is going to share some more information with you. I'm sorry, Noah. Come here, Noah. Come down here. Are you going to talk about the story collection? Let's talk about the story collection.
So what inspired this panel a lot is to claim the energy of a moment, like whether that's an event that happens or an incident or a violence against the community, and to claim that energy and to say, where are we going to go and how are we going to continue this discussion? So these discussions are going to continue, and we're going to make more panels. And there's an email sheet to say if you'd like to be a part of organizing those. This was a small organizing crew, but this is a community process. It's not about creating a small group to organize these panels, but really bring people together around them. So please step forward if you want to help organize. And then we're also going to be doing a story collecting initiative to collect community stories. So if you are interested in sharing your story, see me as well about race in Santa Fe and what we can, or community issues specifically in Santa Fe. So thank you all for coming.
That's Noah, right?
Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. Take care.